Another edition of Coach's Corner, brought to you by My Game Day Collections and mygamedaycollections.com. Their styles are comfortable and an alternative to women's and men's basic tees and hoodies. They offer royalties on all gross sales up to 8% off, 8% back to the schools that sign up with them. Customer service is local. First return is free. 50% off discount on all standard shipping. MyGameDayCollections.com is where you can find them. And I am pleased to be joined by Westside boys basketball coach Jim Simons for this Coach's Corner. Coach Simons, how are we doing today?
I'm doing well, Mike. Thanks for having me. It's the first time we've talked ever in this mode of communication, so good to be here.
Yeah, feel like I'm being quarantined again. That's okay, I guess. First thing is you've been getting back, I guess, and it's been, a month since you've been able to be with your team and do some camps and have those guys in the gym. Started with just shooting. Well, that's all you guys really do anyway, is shoot all the time. So, but, started with the shooting, and then you're able to do some 5-on-5 stuff. And now, and then the last few weeks been participating in team activities against other teams. How's that been going? How do you think that's been going?
Obviously, like everybody else, I think we're playing it kind of one day at a time. But it's been good. The biggest thing is it's just been good to be back in the gym. I think that's probably a common theme from all coaches and all players you talk to. We all enjoy doing this, and so it's good to be back in the gym. And like you said, we were able on June 1 to get back in the weight room in small groups, and then progress to, I think it was about the middle of June, to some individual workout types of skill workouts, which, as you referenced, shooting is something that's really important in our program. So we were good with being able to spend a couple weeks doing that. And then, starting July 1, we were able to have our team camp and then progress into leagues, and those things will wrap up this week. So it's certainly not been a normal summer, but we feel good about what we've been able to get done. We feel guys have made the best of it and tried to use the time we've had both in the weight room and in the gym to improve as best we can.
Speaking of one of the guys you brought up, weight room, Reggie Thomas, seeing him from March until when I saw him, I guess in June, first time I was able to, I was pretty much blown away just with the physical kind of progression he's had, which obviously helps him on the court. He looks like he's been working pretty hard in the weight room.
Reggie knows one speed and one way to work, and that's to go really hard and to go full speed. So he's been a great example, for our other guys. He's one of our, more experienced guys now with, we lost several guys off of last year's team. And Reggie is, he's going to give you an A+ effort, whether it's his skill work on the court, whether it's in the weight room. And, the results have really shown. Obviously, as you mentioned, physically, he's gotten himself in tremendous shape. He's gotten stronger. He's improved, his shooting tremendously from where he was at maybe as a freshman when he struggled shooting the ball for us to last year. I think he was over 45%, and he just continues to work and work and work. So, everything that he's gotten has really been by how hard he's worked. He's a great example for our other guys.
You, along with Reggie, you have Chandler Meeks, Pacey Gillespie. Those guys played a lot last year, but you lost Jaden Booth, likely, I guess, one of, if not the best player Westside's ever seen. How do you feel that role or that production? I know you return, like I said, a handful of guys that have a lot of varsity experience, but how do you spread it out, and what's kind of the plan as of, I guess, July?
Yeah. The big thing is, we lost, 3 guys, obviously, in Jaden, PJ, and Carl, who played a ton of minutes and scored a lot of points for us. And nobody's going to individually replace any of those guys. Jaden had a skill set. I think he's as skilled as any high school player in the state. Last year, he's certainly in that conversation. And PJ is as good with the ball as, what anybody, and quick with the ball. So nobody's going to, and we've talked to our guys about that. Nobody needs to be Jaden. In fact, if somebody tries to be Jaden or tries to be PJ, they're probably not going to be as good as what they're capable of doing. Our guys just need to be them. And, we may be a little different this year. We've been pretty good offensively over the last couple of years. Certainly the individual talent of a couple of those guys that we mentioned, plays a big role in that. And we may have to try to find a way to win some games in the 50s and the 60s and not the games that are in the mid 70s and the 80s. But, we feel that confident in the guys, if they can continue to progress. Reggie and Chandler, you mentioned, made huge strides from their freshman year to their sophomore year in terms of their productivity. And if they can continue to make those strides. Payson got, some very good minutes for us last year and kind of acclimated himself to Class A basketball. And I think he'll make a really big jump this year as he's into his second year of Class A Metro basketball. And then we've got some guys who have really played well this summer, a guy like a Charlie Davis, who's really kind of emerged and shot the ball really well for us this summer. And, so we're, nobody's going to replace those guys, but, you mentioned it. We place a pretty high emphasis on skill development and trying to, get our guys to shoot the ball as well as they can. So hopefully we've got a few guys that'll step up and fill the role. But those guys are going to be awful tough for us to replace. They meant a lot to our program, both on the court and what they did off the court.
I'm glad you brought up Charlie Davis because I was going to ask the question, but what makes him – it feels like, and I've only seen him a few times this summer, but it feels like every time he shoots a three, it goes in. What makes him that deadly of a three-point shooter and, frankly, one of the best three-point shooters that literally no one talks about in the Metro and probably the state?
Yeah, Charlie's one of those guys, he's really good at doing what he does well, and he's a very good shooter. Starts with his shot preparation. He does a really good job of being shot ready. He's worked hard at it. We had a good season for our JV last year, and, a lot of guys, like you said, haven't talked about him. There's not as much coverage of the junior varsity and lower level teams, but he's a kid who's gotten an opportunity this summer. And obviously you and I both know summer games are a little bit different than in-season games, scouting, a little bit more pressure, people in the stands. At least we hope there'll be people in the stands. But he's taken the opportunities he's had this summer and ran with them and really shot the ball well and played within himself. And, he's another kid that works really hard on his craft at trying to improve his shooting. So, just been a good evolution for him to kind of get his feet wet and start to experience, kind of the next level in his progression.
You have I want to touch on it briefly. You have a strong group of freshmen that are coming in. Some of those guys are going to need to play for you guys, it looks like, I guess, from what I've seen from the summer. Caleb Benning, CJ Mitchell are two guys that come to mind. How important is it for those guys or maybe those freshmen that are going to need to be relied on to acclimate quickly?
I've said several times over the course of the last 4 to 6 weeks, we do have a lot of new guys. You mentioned some of the incoming freshmen and then obviously Tate, who has come to us as well. Last summer we had 4 starters returning and returned our 6th man. So we had 5 out of our top 6 back. I never would have liked to not get to play in the summer because I like basketball. I like coaching basketball. But last summer I wouldn't have really been all that worried about it if we'd kind of been in a situation for some reason where we couldn't play summer league and summer camp because we had so much experience coming back. I was nervous, certainly for a while. And in May, were we going to get to do what we've got to do the last, month or so? Because it was, like you said, I think it was really important for those guys to get acclimated. Number one, the skill workouts and the weight training was important to try to get them an idea of, how we work and what we try to do as terms of player development and trying to improve guys in their skill set and their strength. Camp was really important. We use our camp as kind of an install period to try to install what we're doing offensively and defensively. And then obviously getting the chance to participate in some games, just to see how guys do. You don't really know until you watch them play in games how they're going to do. We had an idea, that CJ and Caleb would have a chance to contribute for us. But, until you get them out there on the floor against varsity level competition, you're not quite sure. So that's been really good for us, and they've, I think, learned a lot. They've grown. They've shown that they're very capable of performing at that level. And, we're excited about, we have a really good freshman class, and we're excited about those guys, not just Caleb and CJ. There's a number of guys that we think can be a foundation of a really deep class. We've been working over the last couple of years to try to improve the depth of our program. We've been pretty good at the top, but we haven't been maybe as deep as some other programs or as deep as we'd like to be. And we think with the number of quality incoming freshmen we have, that hopefully that'll help in that regard, certainly.
You didn't have a lot of size last year, but still had a pretty successful year. How do you – and it looks like you're not going to have a lot, this year. How do you adjust to that? I mean, I know there isn't a ton of size in the metro or in the state in particular, but how do you adjust to just – you're just going pretty guard heavy and kind of what you did last year. I mean, Carl Brown played the post, but he's more of a guard. He's just big and strong, so that helped. Like, how do you – your style of play, I guess, how does it allow you guys to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's one of the challenges of coaching in high school is you somewhat obviously are limited by the guys that are in your school. And for whatever reason, we've been in a period the last couple of years, and it looks like it's going to continue. We just don't have a lot of size. You mentioned Carl probably, guarded the other team's post for us last year, and Carl's, not a post. This summer, Tate has done a lot of that for us, and Tate's a guard. Logan Wilson is an upcoming junior that does give us a little bit more size than we had last year, and Logan's coming along and done a good job. But, basically we kind of made a decision about a year ago that we were going to play our best players. And if our best players were 5 guards or 4 guards and 1 big or, whatever it would be, we were going to play our best players. And just try to create a style that we thought fit the skills and the talents of our guys. So, and one thing we talk about is mismatches go both ways, and we certainly have some issues that it creates, our lack of size on the defensive end, and our ability to defensive rebound is a challenge. Our ability to guard in the post is a challenge, and people, are going to try to exploit us as they did all last year. In those areas. But we also know that if we can put 5 guys on the floor that can all shoot it, that can all handle it, that can all pass it, they've got to guard us as well, and that those mismatches go both ways. And we want to try to, it's why our skill level is so important, because I think that's the way you can combat the lack of size. If we did not have the skill level that our guys had last year, I think we become a lot easier to guard. But you're having to have a big guy, guard somebody who generally can handle the ball, can make open threes, can drive it. And that's just been something we've embraced. And, we try to play fast. There's kind of a method to the madness. I mean, it's not total chaos, but we want to try to play fast. We want to play in transition. And, a big thing we also talk about is we think that style makes us somewhat unique. And the challenges we face with our lack of size, we face them almost every night in the Metro and in Class A. And it's stuff we work on from day one at camp on July 1st, all the way through all of our practices, up until the district and the state tournament in March. We're working on how to combat that lack of size, having to rebound really well with our guards, having to double the post, having to scramble with some defensive matchups. And we hope we present some unique challenges to people that maybe they don't play a team like us every day, that maybe it makes us a little bit harder to prepare for because they're not used to playing a team with 5 guards. And we're preparing for those challenges every day, and maybe they only are the week they play us. So that's at least how we try to sell our kids on it. I mean, if we had a 6'9" kid move into the district tomorrow, we would maybe make some adjustments, but it's worked for us, and we thought it worked out all right for us last year.
See, that's why I'm not buying the part where you said earlier we're going to win 50 and 60 points. Though that I don't know. I'm not buying that.
Well, we going to maybe have to be a little better defensively, but we're going to hope to still try to make a bunch of shots. So and keep the game at a tempo, and that's just the thing for us is the game. If the game's at a quicker tempo, obviously, our lack of size is probably less of an issue when the game's at a slower tempo and, it's more of a half court game. Then at times that becomes more of a challenge for us.
How's I mean, obviously I haven't seen it yet, but how's the new court?
God, it's great. I mean, it turned out just absolutely awesome. Steve Clark and I were talking, and Steve and I are both Westside alums. Steve predates me, and Steve thinks it might be the biggest upgrade we've had since he played on that court in, the mid 1980s. So it's awesome. I mean, the kids are super excited about it. It looks really good. The gym itself is just brighter because of the floor, and so we're really appreciative of it. It was great. They were able to get it done in May during, I think it was originally scheduled to be done in July, but kind of once everything got shut down, they were able to get it done in May. So, a big credit to Tom Kirkman, our athletic director, for getting that switched, and they got it done during a time we couldn't be in the gym anyways. So the timing worked out great, and it looks great, and the kids like it. So it's a good thing.
No more like bubbles on, like a little lip you have to deal with on the wood from being there forever.
Yeah, none of those, and it kind of looks like a modern court. And like I said, Steve's convinced that other than putting the 3-point line on, this might be the first major change we've had in there in 30 years. So it looks great. We're really excited about it.
That's crazy. Okay, last one, and this is a question I ask everybody at the end of these and it could, I guess, not your most talented player you've ever coached, but favorite player you've ever coached. And just knowing you, I doubt you're just going to give me one name, but it'd be great if you did.
Well, I've kind of scouted you out and watched a couple of these, and I know I feel like this is your revenge question against coaches. We try to put you on the hot seat and you get us back. I mean, like everybody said, it's an unbelievably difficult question to answer with one name. I mean, I at one point kind of viewed myself as a younger coach, and now I'm starting my 20th year in education. So you go 20 years times baseball and basketball. There's a ton of guys, and just been fortunate enough to coach a ton of guys who've been, great teammates, believed in, both when I was coaching baseball and in basketball, believed in our program and all those things. So, I think that's the disclaimer you start with, that, you're going to leave guys out when the World-Herald guy puts you on the spot and makes you go one guy. But, one guy I think that really stands out is Damon Ross. And Damon is because he just epitomizes to me what it means to be a great teammate. Damon's junior year, the first couple of games, he was our starting point guard. And then after a couple of games, we made the decision that we thought it would be better for our team for PJ Nagambi as a sophomore to move into that starting position. And Damon handled it unbelievably well. He didn't pout. He didn't sulk. He helped PJ, any way he could. He maintained being engaged and being a great teammate. Then you fast forward to the next year, Damon's senior year. And Damon, the first couple games was a starter. And then he had a little ankle injury. And when he was out, Chandler Meeks, who was a freshman, really kind of stepped in and kind of emerged. And both Chandler and Reggie Thomas as freshmen kind of emerged and kind of cut into Damon's playing time. And there's so many kids that would have, shut down. They would have been upset with me. They would have been upset with the other coaches. They would have been upset with Reggie and Chandler as freshmen. Here he is. He's a senior. And Damon stayed so engaged. He was such an awesome teammate, and all the stuff we talk about in our program, he demonstrated. And those things are easy to be a great teammate and to support everybody on your team when things are going great for you. And his ability to be, such a supportive teammate. Was he disappointed? I'm sure he was. Never let me know. Never changed how he acted on a day-to-day basis. Never changed how he practiced. He was the most helpful guy we had to those two freshmen, trying to encourage them, trying to point things out to them, and we've talked a little bit about shooting in our program. And, Damon did a lot of really good things and worked unbelievably hard on his shot and just never got his shot where he wanted it to be. But that didn't stop him from being a great defender, from being a really good ball handler for us, from being a great teammate. And, his senior year in the district final, we ended up, being pretty fortunate and winning by 1 against Millard North. And on the second to last possession of the game, Damon was in there guarding Hunter Salas and did a tremendous, because I just felt like in the last minute of that game that Damon had earned it was a tie game back and forth with us and Millard North. And I just felt Damon had earned the right as a senior for what he'd done for our program to be in there at the last minute. And he did an awesome job defensively in that segment. And, those are kids you always remember because of how selfless he was. And it wasn't about Damon. It was about the team. And, and I'll always appreciate that for him. I mean, there's a bunch of other guys, the group of seniors that just went through, because obviously, I spent a lot of time coaching baseball and was fortunate enough to coach a lot of awesome kids in baseball. Basketball, spent a lot of time, whether it was AAU coaching, had some really good kids in AAU coaching that I'm still really close with today. But, the group of seniors that we just graduated, specifically Jaden, PJ, and Carl, but also Cal Weideman, whose career was, kind of hampered by some tough luck injury-wise, Dylan Folda, Ryan Adkins, Tyler Doval. That was kind of my first group of seniors as the head coach and really trying to help us, get to where we wanted to be culture-wise. And, I told all of them after our last game at the state tournament, our program wouldn't be where it was at without the contributions of all those guys. So you appreciate all those guys. And I'm sure, there's several guys that I've missed that, I'll probably hear from since you put me on the spot, but those are just a few of, a long line of, been lucky to be at Westside for 20 years and both with basketball and baseball and had a lot of great kids over those 20 years.
Okay. So I lied. So one more, because you brought up that Millard North game. It reminds me of another game that was just like last second crazy. Is that Millard North game or the state semifinal last second corner Christian Leitner play where Wilkinson hit the 3, I believe.
He got fouled. So we were, in 2014, we were down 2 to Benson and had length of the floor with roughly about 2 seconds to go. And we were fortunate enough we threw it to, I think, Mike Kiger, who threw it to Sam Wilkinson, and Sam got fouled with no time on the clock and made both free throws. So both pretty crazy, to look at. I mean, that one was in 2014 in a state semifinal game, and the Millard North game was in 2019 in a district final. So to look at twice in a 5-year period for us to be able to win in that situation, a lot of luck probably involved, a lot of good fortune, but also credit to our kids, in both of those teams, the 2014 and the 2019 team for, executing a play that, it's something, do we work on every day? No. But it's something we work on, throughout the course of the season periodically, because you never know when you're going to need it. And, for our kids in a really, really pressure-filled moment to be able to step up and, not only execute the play, but to make the shot. Sam to make both free throws, and Carl, he claims he banked it on purpose. So we'll give him that. I'm not so sure if he banked it on purpose, but credit to our kids, and obviously sometimes it's good to have a little bit of luck on your side. So which of those 2 games was crazier? I'm not sure. Millard North one maybe a little bit more memorable for me just because it was my first time as a head coach winning a district championship, and B, it was in our gym, and and you've been in there for some big games, and it's small and compact and loud and crazy, and the other one was obviously in PBA, and playing in PBA is awesome, but to be able to do it in our gym with the crowd right on top of you and the rushing of the floor and all that stuff, both pretty memorable, that's for sure.
I was there for both of them, and they definitely both were pretty crazy.
So I'm hoping we may have used up all of our luck allotment on length of the floor, 2 seconds to go play. So we're going to we'll try to avoid that as much as we can. So
probably a good idea. All right, Coach, thank you very much for joining me and taking the time. I appreciate it.
You bet, Mike. Thank you. And again, thanks for everything you do for high school athletics, high school athletes, and trying to spread the word about, the quality of high school athletics we've got in the state of Nebraska. I know it's sometimes a thankless job, but a lot of people appreciate it. So thank you.
All right. I appreciate that.